All those in favor? We are back. All right, with that, we are going to move into item E, our reports. First thing we need to do is approve our meeting minutes. October 2nd and October 23rd, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as proposed. Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McCarthy, any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor? And they are accepted. With that, this is the change in our agenda, the unfinished business portion. The only thing we have in unfinished business was Board of Education goals. So we adopted our self-evaluation tool. And if you don't mind, Lori, just take one. Pass it down. I think there's enough. If you don't mind passing that way. And I had sent an email earlier today. I don't know if everyone had a chance to read it, and that's fine if you didn't. But rather than starting from scratch and feeling like we need to recreate the wheel, because I truly don't believe we need to, Mr. Colabufo proposed his 4 goals to increase instructional engagement, to implement sound fiscal practices to support student learning and overall management of the district, to provide an atmosphere that promotes 21st century citizenship for all, and number 4, to foster a partnership between the district and the community. I mean, by adoption of his goals, I really do believe that those are the foundation for our goals. Yep. So any discussion we have, I would humbly suggest, is simply around what is it that we want to measure or report in on how we support the administration and the district in achieving those goals, right? Does anyone disagree with that? Like, we aren't looking to create a whole different set of goals or measurements. It is, what can we do to execute to support Tom and administration?
I would agree.
All right. So that being said, the tough part, which is, and again, this is an action item for tonight. By no means do I expect that we're going to finish it. So open to suggestions and dialogue, but I would suggest that we take the next couple of weeks, each of us individually, come up with some ideas on things that we can do, that we can measure ourselves on in our self-evaluation, that are measurable, attainable, objective, all the things that go around SMART goals, that align up to what Mr. Colabufo and the district are looking to do. And then at the next meeting, we can discuss those. But I think to kind of begin with a blank slate tonight would be a little bit difficult and painful. So
Perfect.
So put some thought to it over the next 2 weeks. Come back, and I'll have Pearl remind me to remind you to come back with those.
If we could, I got a suggestion in the spirit of Google Docs, is that we could put this on a Google Doc that we could all edit and work on collaboratively, and show our dedication to a Google Doc and a Google Sheet. We all just got on the school's Google Drive. I'm going to assume that everybody got on that, right?
Yeah. So I love the intent. My only question is this: we can each we can create a Google Doc. We can have access, but we can't be going back and forth with comments. Unfortunately, that's the open meeting law prevents us from doing that. So we can each put in our own things, input. But we won't be able to do that because, you know, in my work we do that too, but we're going back and forth and refining. We are not able to do that, unfortunately. So, but I love the intent. It's what we should be doing. If New York State didn't hamstring us, yes. Yeah, so so if you don't mind, yeah, we'll put that together. I'll basically just use this template. Each person can input what they want in it, and then that'll be our template to start the next meeting with. I don't think it's too unreasonable to think that the next meeting and then the one after that probably is what we would need to then adopt them, but before the end of the year. Sound good?
It's a plan.
Excellent. Thanks. So, Pearl, if you can add that's still unfinished business for the next meeting. All right, with that, now we move to board member reports, and it's not just reports, but this is the open forum session for the board members, so I'm going to start with I'm not going to go around the whole table, but I am going to ask our student representative, is there anything that you would like to bring up with the board or discuss tonight? Not tonight, thank you. Any other board members, anything to bring up?
Just one point of clarification. There's been a bunch of emails going back and forth, and I want to make sure I guess we're all on the same sheet of music regarding these quote-unquote blackout days. So it's fair to say that on blackout days, gyms and other areas are open for 4 hours.
Yeah, Originally, they weren't at all, but then make a compromise because sports teams were able to use 4, so we extended that opportunity for band as well, but no more than the 4.
And that's a done deal.
That's a
That is closed. Put to
Done
bed.
deal,
Thank
closed.
you.
Excellent. Anything else, other topics? All right, so I do have a couple, but these are, you can blame Mr. Colabufo on these. Our tech committee, how many representatives were you looking for the tech committee from the board? Two from the board. So I did get a response. I know that Mr. Bedworth is interested. Is anyone else interested in serving on the tech committee? And I don't know, Irena, if we have a frequency level of involvement, just so we can.
Our first meeting is going to be November 15th from 4:30 to 6, and at that time we'll set a schedule because I want to get everybody's input.
Okay.
What's the date, Irena?
The 15th, 4:30 to 6 in the high school library.
So any other board members that are, and again, when I ask you, there's no pressure. We all are on probably multiple committees by this time because there's a lot going on. But anyone else have an interest in serving on the tech committee?
What was the frequency? I'm sorry. You
It's
said-
yet to be determined.
Yet to be
at that
determined.
first meeting. It'll at least be monthly.
Okay. I can do that. I know Bedworth was interested too, but he also had a time issue depending on when it was. And
Yeah, and I assume at the first meeting you also discussed timings and try to, because everyone's schedule is going to be all over the place, so. All right. All right, so with that, I will say, Irena and Mr. Colabufo, that Mr. Bedworth and Mr. Buddy are your board representatives for the tech committee.
I'll send out an email.
Great, thank you. College Career Committee, I think you're going to be talking about that probably in your superintendent's report?
Yeah, I was going to give an update, but
No, that's fine. It's so we had a high level of interest from the board. From what I remember, I believe it was Mr. Patch, Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Bedworth, Ms. Fishman, and myself all had a level of interest in it. That being said,
that's actually excellent for this type of committee, that we actually wanted the numbers. We actually have 74 parents, staff members, some students mixed into there. Because the way that those committees are actually held, we want more, kind of almost like community cafe feedback type thing. So,
okay.
yeah, you can have-
So we'll tentatively say those 5.
Great.
What I'd ask though, and I can or you can, but I just want to verify with legal that because the way the committee's structured, you're at individual tables. It's not a whole group dynamic. So I think that we can avoid the quorum rules with that.
Tables, right.
Yeah, but it. Okay, just verify that. So we'll go with those 5 pending that.
All right,
though.
that said, my daughter, who's at SU, did sign up to come, and that I would be her chauffeur.
Excellent.
So I don't know how that plays into the whole equation.
Well, so
Yeah.
so we either can or we can't. So if we can,
Did you sign up now?
I will,
Okay.
but
Well, I think
if
that-
it's too many,
Well,
then-
no, but I think because Mr. Bedworth is going to be on the tech committee and he's going to have issues with timing
Yeah.
as stated, I would think that maybe he should fall out of
Swap.
that committee and that would be a good
'cause I know
spot for you.
Cameron's on.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I can't speak for Mr. Bedworth, but I know that Phil and Michael were part of the original tech committee when we
absolutely. I
went.
think that's a
So
good
I
bet.
think if I don't want to speak for Michael, but he probably wanted to be on the technology committee first. So I think that's fine.
yeah. So
And as I mentioned, real quick, as I mentioned, no offense taken. If I back off, I'm okay with that as well. So whatever you guys decide.
Okay.
No.
So you're going to confirm with legal regardless, but I'll also have a conversation with Mr. Bedworth, just kind of letting him know about tech.
Being the committee man that I am.
Exactly. Well, the hits keep rolling because yet another committee is the pre-K committee. We've got a representative, Mrs. Nickerson, who is not here this evening, is on that. Yeah, that's a mandated. It's really more of an assessment, right? It's reviewing and it's required for the grant renewal.
Yeah, it's a self-assessment with an action plan for anything that we do not have implemented correctly or at all based on their stipulations.
Excellent. All right, so those are the 3 committees, and then in addition, at the next yes, at the next meeting, we'll be discussing mental health
Yes, and I definitely
and
want to
representation
be
on
on
there.
that.
Yeah, so and again, give that some thought, but if you have an interest, let me know, but we will pick those at the next meeting, just so we can kind of put it to rest. My final thing, I believe, for open forum is the New York State School Board Association is broken up, New York State is broken up into areas. We're part of Area 5. So our representative for a number of years now has been elected president of the entire organization, so we have to elect a new one. And the only reason I mention it is because for those of us that were able to make the Oswego County kind of social event last Monday, I think, at the Ice House, we had a chance to meet him. His name is Russell Stewart, is the candidate that wants to run for this representative seat. He is a board member on the Waterville Central School Board. He's been a board member since 1986. I thought it was a typo, but it's not. I've got a little bit of his resume or profile here. If you want to pass it around and take a look, that's fine. But while you're doing it, the reason I'm bringing it up is because he needs 5 of his member districts in Region 5 to on-school letterhead signed by the school board president to basically endorse him and say that we would like him to be the candidate. Doesn't mean we're voting for him. We just want to be the candidate. He's the only one that's put his name forward. So it's not a high call. But I met him. Seems like a great guy. Talked to him about a couple issues. Very involved. Very good head on his shoulder. So I would ask the board tonight, I'm going to make a motion that you give me permission to type up a letter saying that the Central Square School District endorses him to be our candidate, and then we still get to vote whenever that happens, which I think is in January, and we'll be one of 5 districts that do
You
it.
need that in a motion, you said?
I did make that motion.
I'll second.
Second. Now that being said, paper hasn't made its way around, but any questions or concerns? I think both Lori and Tom had a chance to talk to him, but he's a very good guy.
You said he's running unopposed?
Currently, so they have till, I believe it's like November 24th. Anyone that gets 5 districts to endorse them gets that to Mary Metheny, who's the secretary for the New York State School Board Association. And then anyone that does that then would be a competing candidate, but he's the only known one that's put his foot forward. And quite frankly, he's wherever he's, what did I say, the Herkimer board, I think, and he made the trek out to introduce himself to us, which already shows he's got some initiative, so it was good. I'm just giving them a minute to read it because I don't want to vote too quickly.
You met him.
All right.
I'm going
So-
with whatever you say.
So without any further discussion, all those in favor of typing that awesome letter? Great, thank you. All right. If there's nothing else under,
I did have one last thing. So we had not a lot of discussion. We had a discussion before, I think it was you, Lori, that went to vote for the, at the convention or wherever it was.
Yeah.
Did I read correctly that the member from
you
either the
did.
city he's a voting member?
One person, yes, to the Black Caucus.
Yeah.
Yep,
So that got voted on at the convention?
yes.
it did. It was up last year as well, got
Yep.
voted down, but this year it passed, yes.
Yep.
By how many? What was the vote? Do we know?
I don't have the totals yet.
It was pretty extensive.
Thank you.
Yep.
They had a lot of people stand up and get their rebuttals and all that stuff.
Anything else for board forum? With that, Mr. Colabufo, Superintendent's report.
I'm going to move along at a good pace because we always have our 2 people from transportation. We thank you. And then everybody else besides Mr. Bowden are our 3 people that are actually here to be appointed. So we appreciate that. So jumping right into it, congratulations to the members of the Red Hog Regiment Marching Band on a great competitive season. The field band finished their season in the Carrier Dome representing Central Square in the state finals competition and placed 4 in their class. We are all very proud of their hard work and dedication. I was there. And I, again, maybe I'm just being biased because I'm a superintendent here, but I thought they were phenomenal, and I thought that they locked it up first place. But again, I'm not a judge. They looked fantastic. Great job to all of them, and as I always said, thank you to all those volunteers that come out. We couldn't do that without them. Alexa Greenwood and Mrs. Davidson's 5th grade class at Brewerton Elementary received an honorable mention in the Syracuse newspaper's Halloween writing contest. Great job. Paul V. Moore High School is recognized by EF for the high school welcoming exchange students. During the fall inspections by the Oswego County Health Department, all Central Square buildings passed with flying colors. It is a rarity that a sanitarium finds no violations after a conversion pardon me, this is terrible. So sorry. With her during her visit to Central Square Middle School, she stated that our kitchen facilities are always top-notch, and she looks forward to coming here. A big thank you to all of our food service employees for their efforts, along with Paul Brissett and his staff for their continued efforts to help the district stand out over all the others. I really can't give Paul Brissett enough credit. I mean, what he's been able to do with these buildings, anytime I need to call him, he's always there, whether it's 11 o'clock at night and I hear about something with a building, he's right there. He comes right to the school. He's fantastic. But you all know that. Jamie Battaglia was awarded the First and 10 Section 3 Player of the Year. This honor is essentially the Player of the Year award from Spectrum News and is given to only one player in the entire section. Congratulations. I just want to say, I often go to the games, whether they're home, they're away. Some of the board members were there too, and so I'll tweet things out. He made it a point to come up to me a couple days ago in the hallway, shake my hand, look me in the eyes, and say, you know, thanks a lot for coming to support football team, and we really appreciate it. And thank the board members because we see them there as well. He's a class act. On Thursday, November 6th, Empower Federal Credit Union will present on financial aid and college planning. This is a free event for anyone in our community, and it will be held in the auditorium at Paul V. Moore at 6 p.m. So again, that's Empower Federal Credit Union will be presenting on financial aid and college planning. The date there again, it will be held at Paul V. Moore, November 9, 6 p.m. Also on December 6th, the community is welcome to join us on a free financial literacy night hosted at Paul V. Moore at 6 p.m. So that's December 6th at Paul V. Moore at 6 p.m. in the auditorium. This is also put on by Empower to help educate and promote positive financial habits and knowledge. Mrs. O'Mara received an email from a parent and business owner of the community. She wanted to let her know what a great job the volunteers from the high school did at the Halloween party for Millard Hawk Elementary. She said every single student was absolutely amazing, responsible, respectful, kind, and hardworking. She would love to have them help at their Christmas parties as well. And, you know, I think we should just pause on that for a second because we often hear about the suspensions or, you know, fights and this and that. The majority of kids that come through Paul V. Moore are phenomenal, and they have amazingly supportive parents. We do have a situation where we want to have some of our parents be a little bit more involved when it comes to some of our at-risk students with the violent behaviors, but we're working on that. But I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact how many of our parents do come here and do all the right things, and we're very thankful for them. College and Career Readiness Committee update, so I put that Google Doc, the Google form out in a QR code, actually right here, and I quickly got, this has been hanging in the high school. I also went to Chamber of Commerce, and George Rossi, his members, a bunch of them signed on. We've got some amazing community members. We've parents. One of them jumps to my mind, 16 years experience as a college admissions officer, and her kids are in the high school. So she said, I have a vested interest not only personally because of my child, but I have something that I can contribute because I know what we're looking for in accepting students into our university. So we're going to have people from Syracuse University, SUNY Oswego, Siemens, Hudamaki, Fulton. We're going to have all of our local businesses that are saying we've got $85,000 paying jobs and no kids to fill them. So this is really exciting. Some of the students, Reagan, I believe, signed up for this right away, one of the first students. And then we have, again, a past student, Cameron Lawyer, wants to take part in this and give back, even though she's up at Syracuse University. So that's going to be an amazing program. And again, if you're hearing it for the first time, One of the goals is, what are the attributes of the Central Square graduate? And then once we identify those, how are those competencies looked at the elementary, middle, and high school levels? So when teachers are planning lessons, if we know that effective communication, let's say, is one, what are we doing to truly prepare them for that? And it's great that we can have students come back and local business people that want to play a role. So it's very exciting. I'm going to be getting back to all of them. The goal is the first meeting will be the first week in December, and we can really kind of lay out what that approach and how that will look. Another thing that I've got going is this right here, and it's hanging up in Paul V. Moore. It went up today. I did have a couple students come up to me and say, that's a great idea. And again, this is a collaboration between myself and Jeff King, playing off the whole idea of college and career readiness. We know when it comes to student parking that it goes seniors and then juniors, but it's the top 30. We have a lot of amazing students that have an 85 average that aren't part of the top 30. So what we did was, basically, this is hanging up, and it says, do you represent the characteristics we look for in a Paul V. Moore student that will lead to success in college and or career? If you believe that you do and you're a junior or senior, complete this form when they scan that. And if they don't have a smartphone, the link is right there. They'll be hit with a series of about 8 questions that they have to fill out. And if I will select 10 and actually interview these students after school, and we will select 2 students. And the 2 students that will be selected are the ones that they're involved, and they're good kids, and they're doing everything that we ask of them. They'll be awarded with a parking pass for this year. So there's 2 of those spots, and that's really exciting. I actually had a parent call up and say, my kid's actually writing these right now at home because they want. And that's what it's about. And it gives me a better opportunity, too, and I give credit to Jeff King. It gives me an opportunity to meet with some of these students that I normally wouldn't have the opportunity to meet as a superintendent, so I thought that's a great idea.
So, Tom, real quickly, the policy, as it states, is staying in place. This is 2 additional students at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yep. Policy stays in place. So that's very exciting. Got that going. And then the Smart Schools Bond, I was just going to give an update. We really we're hopeful that it's going to be happening end of fall. We were originally told when Jack Monica was going through all of this, that it was rumored that we would have these by September. So that's why people heard. But it was all contingent on when the governor was going to come in on the next group of approvals. If the pattern continues, it looks like it's a January and a July. So again, it could happen sooner than that. But from what I've heard, they're not thinking that it's going to be later. Again, when I say stuff, and then all of a sudden the governor chooses to wait longer before he comes in to approve that. But I just wanted to give the update. That's nothing that we did wrong in our submission of Smart Schools Bond. We are in a queue, and we've been approved, and we're just ready for the governor to come in and say, boom, and then all these other districts are able to go and purchase what they wanted to do. And the turnaround time is going to be pretty good because we have Arena ready to go on the type of Chromebooks. Again, we had a gentleman speak today, and we will look into that. I mean, we'll absolutely look into what could be a cost savings with a high-quality product. So that right there completes my superintendent report.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Reports being completed, we're going to move to action items. F1 is the approval of student trips. There are 3 trips, and before we make the motion on this one, I just want to point out, I'm going to ask, it's not really an official vote or anything, but the board's opinion on this. I'd like to refer actually our policy on this to the policy committee, because in discussing it with Pearl this week, our policy is written so that it says if it's school funded or endorsed, I think is the wording, then we approve it. If it's not, then the superintendent simply do it. And I discussed it with Tom as well. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. Every trip, whether we are funding it or not, I mean, we're liable if we're sending students places, whether we're paying for it or not. And so I would suggest that we refer that policy and have the policy committee come back with a recommendation to change it so that all student trips are approved to us. So unless there's dialogue against it, then I know Mrs. Phillips is over
So do we
there.
need, we don't need to do anything on that. You're
We
just
don't
gonna